24th August, A.D. 791300. Mount Vesuvius erupts. The sky darkens. Pompeii has 18 hours left. 20,000 people will be buried alive. Most do not even attempt to flee. That morning, Baker Modestus woke up before dawn, as he had done for the last 30 years. He lit the oven, kneaded the dough, and baked the bread. His bakery on Via dell'Abbondanza was already bustling with customers. Customers were queuing up. Slaves were grinding grain. The smell of fresh bread filled the street. He glanced at Vesuvius, smoke rising from its summit. As usual, he thought, it always smokes. At 1 p.m., the mountain erupted. Modestus ran to save his family. He collapsed 200 meters from his bakery, his hands stretched out in front of him. He didn't make it. 1,748 years later, archaeologists discovered his bakery. Inside were 81 perfectly preserved, charred loaves of bread. Modestus died while baking bread. He died while Pompeii was still alive. Are you ready to find out what happened in the following 18 hours? If you're subscribed, let's begin. Around 700 BC, the Oscans, an Italic tribe, settled on a volcanic plateau overlooking the Gulf of Naples. They did not choose this location at random. The soil was incredibly fertile, making it perfect for growing crops. Volcanic ash from ancient eruptions made the soil perfect for growing grapes, olives, and wheat. They named the settlement Pompeii, which probably means 5 in their language, and indicates that 5 villages had grown into a town. The Oscans built simple houses, temples dedicated to their gods, and defensive walls. It was a small agricultural community of perhaps 3,000 people. They farmed, traded, and worshipped. They were unaware that they lived atop one of the world's most dangerous volcanoes. 600 BC, merchants from the nearby Greek cities of Cumae and Neapolis, modern-day Naples, arrive in Pompeii. They brought not only goods, but also culture, Greek pottery, Greek architecture, and Greek gods. The Oscans adopted the Greek alphabet to write their own language. They also built temples in the Greek style. The Temple of Apollo was built in the Forum, becoming Pompeii's first major public building. This Greek influence transformed Pompeii from an agricultural village into a proper town. Its population reached 8,000. Trade routes connected them to the wider Mediterranean. Pompeii is no longer isolated. It opens up to the outside world. It is becoming a cosmopolitan city. 400 BC, the Samnites, a powerful Italic tribe from the mountains, conquer Pompeii. They were tougher and more organized warriors than the Oscans. They fortified the city with massive stone walls up to 8 meters high and 3 kilometers long in places. They control the 7 gate entrances. They also built watchtowers. Pompeii became a military stronghold. Rather than eradicating Greek culture, the Samnites embrace it. They expand the Forum, build new temples, and construct the triangular Forum overlooking the bay. Under Samnite rule, Pompeii's population increased to 12,000. It is a wealthy, walled city of strategic importance. However, Rome was rising in the south and wanted everything. 89 BC, the Social War. The Italian allies rebel against Rome and demand citizenship. Pompey sided with the rebels. This would prove to be one of the worst decisions in history. The Roman general Lucius Cornelius Sulla sent his armies to besiege the city. The Samnite walls held out for months. However, Rome was determined to take the city, even if it took a long time. Siege engines destroyed the defenses. Pompeii surrendered. Sulla conquered and plundered the city as a lesson. Roman veterans are given land here. Latin replaced the Oscan language. Pompeii became a Roman colony. Colonia Cornelia Veneria Pompeianorum. The Samnite period ended and the Roman period began. Although this situation initially seemed unfavorable, Pompeii flourished as never before. In 73 BC, just 16 years after becoming part of the Roman Empire, Pompeii built an amphitheater, the oldest surviving stone amphitheater in the Roman world. With a capacity of 20,000, it could hold more people than the city's entire population. People came from surrounding towns to watch gladiator fights. Blood, violence, and spectacle. This was Roman entertainment. And Spartacus, the most famous gladiator in history, escaped from the gladiator school in Capua, just 15 miles north. His rebellion kept Italy politically and militarily occupied for 2 years. Some of those who fought alongside Spartacus may have competed in the arena at Pompeii. The arena was the center of social life in Pompeii. Here, the Romans demonstrated their power, wealth, and brutality. 5 February 62 CE. A massive earthquake strikes Pompeii. Measuring 5.9 on the Richter scale, the earthquake was extremely powerful. Buildings collapse. The Forum is destroyed. The Temple of Jupiter is damaged. The aqueduct breaks. The water supply stops. People are crushed in the streets. Thousands flee. Although the city is reduced to ruins, Pompeii is not abandoned, it is rebuilt. Wealthy Romans see this as an opportunity, cheap land and labor, and a chance to redesign the city. They build even more magnificent villas, huge baths, carefully crafted frescoes. They ignore the warnings. For the Romans, earthquakes are just earthquakes. An earthquake strikes and causes damage. You rebuild and carry on with your life. No one connects the earthquake with the smoky mountain rising above the city. Vesuvius has been dormant for 800 years. It's just a mountain. There's nothing to fear, right? A.D. 7079. Pompeii was undergoing rapid development. The earthquake is long forgotten. Luxurious villas line the streets, including the House of the Faun, the House of the Vetii, and the Villa of the Mysteries. These are not just houses. They are palaces with marble floors. They feature detailed mosaics depicting Alexander the Great, the gods, and mythological scenes. They have private baths, fountains in the gardens, and indoor plumbing. The wealthy Romans lived better than kings. At this time, the city's population was around 15,000. There were bakeries, taverns, brothels, and shops, and life was very lively. The walls were covered in graffiti. Pompeii was thriving, but no one could have predicted what would happen 9 years later. 24 August, 1 p.m., 79 AD. Mount Vesuvius erupts. Across the bay from Misenum, Pliny the Elder, admiral of the Roman fleet, writer, scholar, and one of Rome's greatest minds, watches the eruption. His nephew, Pliny the Younger, would later write about what happened. Pliny the Elder orders the ships to be prepared. He tells his nephew, "I am going to make a scientific observation." But then, a message arrives. His friend Rectina is trapped in a villa near Pompeii. She begged to be rescued. Pliny changes course. It is no longer a matter of science. It is a matter of rescue. While everyone else flees, the ships head towards the eruption. Ash and pumice rain down like hail. The captain begs Pliny to turn back, but he refuses. Fortune favors the bold. They reach the shore. The beach is littered with debris. Instead, they anchor at Stabiae. Pliny finds his friend Pomponianus and orders everyone to stay calm, have a bath, eat dinner, and go to bed. But that night, the courtyard fills with ash and pumice. The house begins to shake. They evacuate to the shore. At dawn, Pliny collapses. He is dead. But how? Was it suffocation from volcanic gases or a stress-induced heart attack? There are no visible wounds. His nephew wrote, "He looked more like he was asleep than dead." Why didn't he leave? Why didn't he leave by ship when he had the chance? Was it courage? Or was it stubbornness? Or did he truly believe that Rome could withstand anything, even a volcano, until the very end? On 24 August 79 at 13, Mount Vesuvius erupted. The top of the mountain is blown off. A column of ash and rock rises 20 miles into the air. This blocks out the sun. The bay is plunged into darkness. Pumice begins raining down on Pompeii. First, small stones fall, then larger ones. People run into the streets, holding pillows over their heads for protection. Some flee immediately, but most stay. Just an explosion, they think. It will pass. They retreat indoors. They wait. The pumice rains down for 12 hours. Roofs collapse under the weight of it. 3 meters of pumice cover the streets. People are trapped inside buildings. At midnight, the eruption changes, and everything gets worse. 24. August, midnight. The explosion column collapses. A pyroclastic wave of superheated gas and ash races down the mountain towards Pompeii at 720 kilometers per hour. Temperature, 500 degrees Celsius. Nothing survives. The wave strikes at 6:30 on 25 August. Everyone who survives dies instantly. Lungs burn, bodies freeze where they stand. The wave leaves Pompeii buried under an extra 2 meters of ash. By 8 a.m., it's all over. 18 hours, 20,000 people have died. Pompeii, Herculaneum, and Stabiae are destroyed. They are buried under 6 meters of volcanic material. The cities are gone. For 1,700 years, their location will be unknown. Vesuvius has destroyed them, and the volcano is not finished yet. What was Pompeii's biggest mistake? Was it rebuilding after the earthquake of 62 AD? Or staying there when Mount Vesuvius erupted? Or believing that Rome could withstand anything, including nature itself? Write your answer in the comments. If this tragedy captivated you, hit the like button and subscribe. 25. August 79. 8. Pompeii is silent, buried, dead. But not everyone died. Some escaped. Historians estimate that around 2,000 people fled before the pyroclastic wave hit. They ran to Naples, Rome, and anywhere else they could. They took nothing with them except the clothes on their backs and the trauma in their minds. According to Roman law, if you abandoned your property, you lost it. Yet none of them returned to reclaim their belongings. Why? Because there was nothing left to return to. Pompeii was gone. Its iconic structures were gone. The city had been buried under 6 meters of ash and pumice. Even survivors couldn't find their homes. Some tried to find them. They dug randomly. Finding nothing, they eventually gave up. Pompeii became a ghost town. It was a place that people whispered about, but never visited. 501,500 CE. The Middle Ages. Pompeii is completely forgotten. Its name disappears from maps. Medieval farmers plow their fields over the buried city, unaware that 20,000 bodies lie beneath their feet. They call the area Civita, meaning city, because ancient ruins occasionally surface from the soil. Strange walls, broken columns, and ruins, but they don't know what they are. Some think it is a Roman military camp. Others think they are just old ruins, nothing special. Farmers build their houses, plant their crops, and raise their families on top of Pompeii. Life goes on. And what lies beneath the soil? For 1,000 years, Pompeii slept, forgotten, silent, waiting. 1,592. The architect, Domenico Fontana, is constructing an underground aqueduct to supply nearby Torre Annunziata with water. His workers are digging a tunnel. They encounter something unexpected: ancient buildings. The walls are covered in paintings, inscriptions in Latin, Latin texts. Fontana takes notes. He records his discovery. He even finds the word Pompeii carved in stone. But he does not investigate further. Why? Because in 1592, ancient ruins were everywhere in Italy. Rome is full of them. No one cares. Fontana closes the tunnel, completes the aqueduct, and moves on. Pompeii remains dormant for another 156 years. The greatest archaeological discovery in history is made, but it is ignored. 1748. King Charles VII of Naples, a Bourbon monarch obsessed with antiquities, learns of the ruins near Pompeii. He orders excavations to be carried out. The Spanish military engineer Roque Joaquín de Alcubierre began the excavations. They are not searching for history, they are treasure hunting. Charles wanted statues, jewels, and works of art for his palace. Alcubierre's workers dug tunnels and took anything that looked valuable. It was a destructive, chaotic, and unscientific process. But they found incredible things: bronze statues, frescoes, mosaics, and jewels. Then, in 1763, they found an inscription reading Re Publicae Pompeianorum, the Republic of Pompeii. They were now certain this was Pompeii. The lost city has been found. The world begins to take an interest in it. Giuseppe Fiorelli became director of the excavations in 1863. He was an archaeologist, not a treasure hunter. He changed everything. He notices that, as the workers dig, they find voids in the ashes, pockets of air. He realized that these were the places where the bodies had decomposed. The ashes had hardened around the bodies like mold. The bodies had decayed, leaving behind perfect negative impressions. Fiorelli invents a technique of pouring liquid plaster into the empty spaces. He waits for it to harden. Then he carefully excavates around it. The result is a plaster cast, a perfect three-dimensional image of the people as they were in their final moments. You can see their faces, their clothes, their pain. For the first time in 1,784 years, the people of Pompeii become visible again. Death is frozen forever. As the excavations continue, it's not only buildings that are being discovered, people are being found too. They are frozen in their final moments. The lovers, two bodies with their arms wrapped around each other. For years, people have talked about and remembered these two ill-fated lovers who chose to die together. They had chosen to die together. Chained dog. A dog named Vesuvius. We know this because his name is carved into his collar. Chained inside a house, he desperately tries to climb higher in the ash, filling the room. He dies hanging in the air, unable to breathe. His owners fled. They left him behind. And Modestus. Remember the baker we mentioned at the beginning? They found him collapsed in the street, 200 meters from his bakery. His hands were still stretched forward. He was running home. He didn't make it. Inside his bakery, 81 loaves of bread, charred but intact. The last loaves he had baked were still in the oven. These are not ruins. These are lives left unfinished. Excavations don't just unearth bodies, they also reveal artifacts. The walls of Pompeii are covered in graffiti. Thousands of inscriptions have been carved into the plaster. While most are mundane, some are significant. One inscription, in particular, changed everything. In 2018, archaeologists discovered charcoal graffiti in a house. It read, XVIK Nov, the 16th day before the 1st of November. That corresponds to 17 October. For 250 years, historians had believed that Mount Vesuvius erupted on 24 August. However, as this graffiti was written in mid-October, the eruption must have occurred later, probably on 24 October, 79 CE. Fresh coal doesn't last for months. This was written just days before the eruption. The last sounds of Pompeii, frozen on the walls. Today, Pompeii is one of the world's most popular archaeological sites. Over 3 million tourists walk these streets every year. They visit the Forum and the amphitheater, the brothels and the bakeries. They gaze at the casts of people who died 1,945 years ago. In 1997, UNESCO designated Pompeii a World Heritage Site. It is protected and preserved and studied, but it's also fragile. Centuries of exposure to air and rain, as well as millions of footsteps, have damaged the site. Walls are collapsing, frescoes are fading. In 2010, the House of the Gladiators collapsed completely. Modern conservation efforts aim to preserve what remains left. These include digital scanning, 3D modeling, and careful restoration. But Pompeii is fighting time. Again. Mount Vesuvius is not dormant yet. Since AD 79, it has erupted more than 50 times. The last major eruption occurred in 1944, when American soldiers stationed nearby watched lava destroy villages. Today, however, Mount Vesuvius is dormant. Not extinct, dormant. Geologists are constantly monitoring it. They use seismographs, gas sensors, and satellite surveillance. The grim reality is this: 3 million people currently live in the red zone. the area that would be devastated if Mount Vesuvius were to erupt. Naples, Torre del Greco, and Herculaneum are modern cities built upon ancient death. Italy has evacuation plans. In theory, they could evacuate 600,000 people within 72 hours. But 3 million? With cars, panic, and chaos? Experts say it's impossible. Vesuvius will erupt again. When is unclear. Millions of people live in the shadow of Pompeii. Will history repeat itself? Today, technology is providing us with new ways of seeing Pompeii. 3D laser scanning creates perfect digital replicas of buildings, frescoes, and even the casts. Perfect digital replicas of buildings and frescoes, and even the casts. Virtual reality lets people to walk through Pompeii as it was in 79 CE, with bustling streets, open shops, and people alive. AI can analyze graffiti, reconstruct faces from skulls, and even decipher carbonized scrolls found in Herculaneum. These aren't just ruins anymore, they're a time machine. Pompeii teaches us something profound. Civilizations don't end because they're weak. They end because nature doesn't care how powerful you are. Rome ruled the Mediterranean. Pompeii was wealthy, advanced, and thriving, and in just 18 hours, it was gone. The people of Pompeii thought Vesuvius was just a mountain. The people living there now think the same thing is happening again. History doesn't repeat itself, but it echoes. Final question. What is the most haunting aspect of Pompeii's story? The bodies frozen in? Their final moments? Or the graffiti written just days before death? Or the fact that 3 million people were living in the shadow of Vesuvius, repeating history? Share your thoughts below. If this journey moved you, hit the like button and subscribe for more Lost Civilizations content. As always, we'll see you in the past.